This magnificent edition of March Madness only continues with our first semifinal, just a one-point game. Second half points off turnovers. Look at that category, Billy.
Changed an awful lot right there in regard to Kentucky's big advantage. And Jim, that's overcoming the fact that they have not been able to get untracked at all from the perimeter. McGlure and Muhammad have been excellent. So has Tim Young. But right now you'd have to say big advantage Kentucky. Young on the bench with 4. Najee Muhammad and McGlure in good shape.
Good pressure applied by Kentucky. And you start to wonder, too. You have to endure this the whole game if you're Arthur Lee. When do you start wearing down, making mistakes like that with fatigue being part of the factor?
I think he's been fairly well rested, but there was a case where all he needed to do was to keep his dribble alive for 2 more dribbles and then make a realistic pass. You have to wonder if Sauer's knee problem didn't hurt him a little bit having to turn on that particular pass, Jim.
Jaron Collins riding the back of Padgett. Game 2, the Utah Utes against the East champion North Carolina Tar Heels. That's coming up after this one.
Well, Jim, we talked about the fact at the start of the show that, in my opinion, all 4 of these teams win their next game. And I think that Stanford has proven they belong on the floor with Kentucky, at least at this point they have, and I think Utah will do likewise with North Carolina. Scott Padgett, another solid day.
But what's really been impressive is the play at the other end, as Madsen has only 4 for Stanford. They've been matched up head-to-head all afternoon.
They really have. Padgett coming off of the All-South Regional team. You can see that Stanford employing a lot of the same principles that Utah used against Arizona against the press. Throwing over the top, letting their big men catch. There's Shepard on a hold on Weems, not wanting him to get the curl move started.
But only the 5th team foul against Kentucky, so they'll inbound underneath. Both of these teams with dramatic comeback wins last Sunday. Hashimu Evans for Shepard.
Boy, that's a nice substitution pattern right there. 2 guys that you know are going to produce for you. Shepard sits down. Looks like he's very confident with that smile on his face. Nice move.
Over the top, Collins. McGlure on the body and a push-off call. They don't count the basket.
That's a tough break for Stanford there because Collins withstood the banging and then doesn't even get to go to the foul line on it. You'll see, without question, McGlure will push him right here. Collins regains his steps, finishes off, but it doesn't count.
And Muhammad for McGlure. What a tandem they've been today.
They've been terrific, and I think McGlure's play, Jim, when he knew he had to go in and play solid minutes in the first half with Najee Muhammad and the 2 fouls, really the key to Kentucky staying close. Sauer really limited on that leg. Seems like he's running about 60%.
Weems on the run. Oh, he can tie it at the line.
Jim, you said he likes to stand and shoot as opposed to putting the ball on the floor, but that time he showed us a little something.
Did he ever?
Weems this year, highest since Todd Lichty had 34 points against Oregon. Lichty had 35 in 1989. Anybody that can hit 34 in a ball game certainly should be able to come up with more than just a standstill jumper, and Weems showed it to us right there.
And he knows how to get the call. His father was a former official in the Big 8 Conference. This is on the chance to tie, but even better yet for Stanford, they get control of it and can regain the lead.
Oh, a bad switch by Najee Muhammad.
And Lee puts Stanford in front at 61-60.
The big man didn't want to take Lee, but he should have stayed with him. Gave him a wide open jumper.
6 minutes to go. Over the top to Muhammad. He beat Madsen, who was trying to front him. They just went right over the top.
Look at the press now that Kentucky's putting on. They're double teaming the ball handler every time in the backcourt. They got to watch 10-second again.
Beat it by a second. Weems for a 3.
Why? Why taking quick shots? Najee's got A lob opportunity again.
Edwards free. Saved by Smith to Edwards. Drives, gets the layup.
He throws the defense with his eyes that time. They thought he was going to be patient enough to pull it back out. He put it on the floor.
64-61, Kentucky.
It's a huge basket right here. A huge possession, rather. And I think if you're Mike Montgomery, you got to think about coming back in with Young.
Tough shot. Weems gets it to go.
He had no place else to go with that, Jim. No passing lane. Had to take the shot.
Remember that one as we just moved under 5 minutes.
That's the young man that was 0 for 10 against Purdue in the win. Nazim Muhammad would like that ball, a post-up move inside.
Seven on the shot clock. There he is. Turnaround, Muhammad rattles out. And Collins with two hands secures it.
What a nice job by Kentucky to get the ball to the man they wanted to touch it. Stanford coaches calling plays out on the side with flashcards.
And Weems to the line for two. Foul on Smith, his second.
You know, we talk about the high academic standards. You're supposed to be able to play the game and read the flashcards at the same time, Jim.
When it gets helter-skelter, that's an awful lot.
I'll tell you what, okay, Coach. They're pressing me full court. I'm trying to dribble, and you're throwing flashcards at me. Please.
That ties it. Shepard and Turner in the Kentucky lineup.
Well, I can't say enough about Weems today, Jim. You know, you get in a short-running tournament like these 3 weeks are, you start going south, and it's really hard to pull yourself back together. This kid's showing a lot of courage here, coming right out in the beginning of the game and saying, you know what, I'm a good shooter. I'm going to show you I'll put it up there.
Stanford's in front by one. Under 4 minutes to play. Padgett calling for it. Backing in Collins.
Oh, he got the roll. And there it is, a more mature player going against a freshman and just kind of overpowering him with upper body.
Runs the baseline, does Mosley.
Lee better keep his dribble alive here. Keep his dribble alive. Big mistake.
Padgett read it all the way.
Big mistake. You got to keep that dribble alive.
Padgett gives it up. Evans, too strong. And Lee runs it down in the corner.
When you're dribbling up against that double team, Jim, you're better off going backwards rather than picking up your dribble. You pick up the dribble, you play right into the defense's hand.
Mosley, he can shoot it. Not this time. Madsen with position
and a foul. Terrific position by Madsen inside on Nazim Muhammad. And he is so strong, is the madman. Mosley being a good shooter.
He's not the mad man. He's the mad dog.
Mad dog, all right. But he had tremendous position right here. Mark Madsen putting it up. Nazim Muhammad can't stop it. He is such a strong kid. And really not a kid. He went on a mission for 2 years before he started playing at Stanford. And there's that little wiggle we saw in the Rhode Island game.
9 rebounds for Madsen. From Danville, California, one of 10 children. Madsen, 3-point play. The 8th lead change we've had in the second half. There's a timeout on the floor, an official timeout. Stanford has regained the game's lead. Family of head coach Mike Montgomery, wife Sarah, son John, daughter Annie. Each team with 2 full, 2 20s, and the arrow belongs to Kentucky.
Jim, you mentioned 1942 when Stanford won it at this very day. It'll cost Mike Montgomery more tonight to feed that family than what Stanford took home in a check. They made $93.79 was their take from the NCAA tournament in 42. Oh!
Stanford with a three-pointer in the ninth lead change of the second half.
Jeff Shepard doing a great job coming off of those curls today. Dangerous pass.
Nope, touch last by Turner.
Turner whistles and says to the referee, excellent call.
So right out of the break, the Shepard three gives Kentucky the 69-68 lead.
See if Lee keeps his dribble alive this time. Boy, those are dangerous passes. Stanford fans wanted a foul there. Officials letting them play. It's pretty aggressive out there.
Both teams will be in a double bonus. The rest of
Stanford should still try to go down into Young a little bit.
10 seconds on the shot clock. Lee on and Turner. Oh, Turner blocks it. And Cameron Mills comes out with it. Well, it's a defensive play by Turner.
Lee tried to challenge him again. I think it really makes sense for Stanford to go inside to Young because that means the double team takes place, makes Matson wide open on the put-up.
Under 2 to play. Padgett. Over Matson.
Not a good shot. Good block out by Matson on the shooter.
And the Mad Dog gets it back for Stanford.
You notice how he made Padgett go out of bounds to try to circle back in for the rebound. Good block out. Again, Young wanting that ball inside. Nobody wanted to throw it to him.
Wayne short on the jumper.
They would get better shots by going inside and let it come back out.
1:20 remaining. Wildcats with the lead. And a 20-second timeout. Padgett and Madsen were the guys who hit the game-winning shots a week ago. Kentucky for its win against Duke. Padgett from the top of the key. Madsen off the knee steal for Stanford. It's a moment like that just waiting to happen here.
Well, you can see Tubby Smith using that timeout wisely here. 1:17 to go. He wants to get his guys fully appraised of what he expects them to do on this possession. And if you're Stanford down the other end, Jim, you've got plenty of time in this basketball game. But you got to go inside, and I'll tell you why. Turner can handle Lee one-on-one. Shepard is a fine one-on-one matchup with Weems. Shepard three-pointer. Again, 2 huge threes by Jeff Shepard. Hey, can Tubby Smith do it any better than that? He calls and sets up a perfect play with his 20-second timeout.
That gives them their biggest lead of the game, a 4-point lead. Under a minute. They came back from 6 down with a minute to play against Rhode Island. Now they must somehow come back from 4 against Kentucky. Lee, it's put back by Madsen. And a timeout. Stanford got it.
Nice job by Matson, not only to make the shot, but also to have the presence of mind to call the quick timeout. On the curl play set up specifically by Tubby Smith. Shepard, who has been on fire. Jim, just think about a young guy with that terrible ankle injury. There's Matson on his putback. A lot of people probably thought he might never come back for the rest of the NCAA tournament. He came back after missing just 1 game and has played great basketball in this tournament. Against South Carolina State, he was only 1 for 4, but then against St. Louis, 18 points, 7-11. Against UCLA, 16 points. Against Duke, 5 for 11, 10 points, and 11 big rebounds.
All right, we have 48 seconds to go. Kentucky leads by 2. What a big putback, though. It could have been Kentucky possession and a 4-point lead, but Madsen came crashing down the lane. Oh, and a reach-in will send Turner, not a good free throw shooter, to the line for 2.
Jim, not only not a good free throw shooter, a very poor free throw shooter. When you take into consideration, and one of his only weaknesses as a player, only 64%, which is up from the 56% he shot in his career coming into this season.
But the thing you like about him in this situation, as Kentucky now is hand in hand, is he has been a postseason giant for Kentucky. 2 shots. 6-second three-point lead. Will they rush a three or take a two?
No, I think you got plenty of time to take the two.
Madsen out high. Weems. Lee takes the three for the tie. 26 seconds to go. Kentucky needs help.
What made it?
And a near steal by Madsen.
Jim, what made that is Weems tried to go ahead and take his shot, but he couldn't get it off, and he had to throw it out. Lee was wide open. You see it right here. Some shot by the man that was the MVP of the West, and continuing here at the Final Four.
And timeout called by Stanford. Tie game, 24 seconds remaining. Kentucky ball. 24 seconds to go. They both have timeouts, and the arrow belongs to Kentucky. And the Wildcats must inbound here on the side in the backcourt, Billy.
Well, a couple of things to think of. Number one, you on that sideline, so Kentucky's going to have to be aware of that. Tubby Smith likes to set up special plays in this situation. I'd say that there's two things that we can look for. The curl for Shepard, who's been very hot. The other thing is the back screen lob pass. Remember the one that Padgett was not able to make earlier in this half? I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see that play as well.
Turner in the game with Edwards, Padgett, Muhammad, and Shepard.
1-4 set. Hey, they're going to play for the last shot, it looks like. Take their chance to play them in overtime.
Muhammad tried to set up pick out high. 7 seconds to go. Turner drives. Turner comes up short. Rebound Stanford. They look for the timeout. Weems fires it.
They tried to get the timeout, Jim. I really think they could have had as much as 2 seconds and couldn't get the time.
7/10 of a second on the clock, and Turner had a highly desirable shot for Kentucky.
Well, give credit to both Turner and Lee. Turner got the shot that he wanted. Lee did a great job defensively, keeping his chest in front of him. And there's where Stanford just couldn't get the timeout quick enough.
Timeout on the floor. We'll be right back. Reviewing, trying to ascertain if Stanford should have more time than 7/10 of a second.
And Jim, the officials right now are saying they haven't decided yet, so they're asking Tubby Smith and Mike Montgomery to keep their teams there. You know, we'll see the play right here. They're trying to get the timeout right there, Madsen, when there's almost like 1.8 seconds, but they didn't get the call. Now the officials are working on it, looking at the television monitor over at the scorer's table. Let's see how much time they're going to put on there.
I think 1.1 seconds. Timmy Higgins just signaled to Tubby Smith.
Nice job by Tubby from a standpoint of accepting the official decision here.
Stanford will have to inbound just outside of
0.1 seconds on the clock.
Yes, indeed. So that gives them a little more time to catch and shoot. And they brought in Ryan Mendez, the Texas scoring phenom out of Burleson, Texas, number 32.
Well, they've got Weems. They've got Mosley taking the ball out of bounds. You've got Weems, who's a pretty good curl shooter. You have Mendez, who's a pretty good curl shooter. And then Young is in the ball game for the long pass. And I think they're going to try to set a screen so the curl shooter can shoot at half court. And what Tubby's doing is saying, I want to see your alignment, and then I'll go out and play defense against you.
20-second timeout. Kentucky checked the look. Mosley was going to be the inbounder for Stanford. What kind of shot do you think they'll get to shoot here?
Well, Jim, what I think they're going to try to do is to use Young to set screens. I don't see from that alignment a situation where they'll try to throw it at the rim for Young or Mendez. So I think they're looking for a jump shot for Weems or Mendez coming off a curl move. Now, one of the things you'd like to do, where the ball is out of bounds, you'd love to have a left-handed jump shooter here, but they don't have either one on the floor that can do that. So it'll be a tough jump shot on a curl.
Tough pass with Muhammad guarding the inbounds pass. Mosley cannot move. Let's get it in to Weems. Bounces one, two, short. Overtime in game one.
Well defended. Tough situation for Stanford with all right-hand shooters.
Overtime at the Final Four. We'll be right back.
Overtime.
Double overtime. Minnesota beat Clemson, and UCLA over Iowa State in overtime. And here we go here. Donna Smith
Jim, one of the things you get an extra timeout in overtime, but one of the things you don't get, and I'm looking at that young man right there, he does not get an extra foul. So Young comes into this overtime with 4 on him, so Kentucky in better shape in the low post.
Madsen anticipating perhaps.
He stole the tap, unlike the first tap of the game.
One overtime game on the season for Stanford. It was a loss against Arizona State, one of only 4 losses on the year.
Kentucky had 1, and they beat Arkansas.
Edwards crashed in on him, so he drove in. Rattles out, maybe over the back of the
And that's Young, and as I said, you don't get an extra foul in overtime, so Young's going to sit. And I go back to the foul that he committed right at the start of the second half. That was a cheap one. There's nothing he can do here. Big advantage, Kentucky. You see Nazir Muhammad blocking him out, keeping him off the boards.
That wasn't much of a foul there, Billy.
Very cheap foul.
Was it a cheap foul or no foul?
Well, maybe no foul. You know, when you consider at this point in the game, these referees have been allowing them to play. That was almost, and gained no advantage by that contact. A foul is when you make contact and gain an advantage. Young sure didn't on that play.
Muhammad to shoot 2. Made 3 out of 4 at the line today. Quite an improvement. A year ago in the championship game, the overtime loss to Arizona, Muhammad was 0 for 6 from the line.
Yeah.
How about that? Kentucky's in back-to-back overtime games at the Final Four. The championship game to Arizona and here today.
Yep. Long
and tipped out, looked like by Edwards.
Yeah, I thought Edwards was the last one to touch it. An official looking for some help, and he got it. On the money there. Kentucky keeps up the full court relentless pressure. Now Lee has got to be questioned as to how much stamina he's had. He's been fighting this pressure for a good 20 minutes.
Mad Dog right over the hands of Mosley.
You want to get the ball back to Lee if you're Stanford. That relentless pressure from Kentucky eventually takes its toll.
Was an unforced error, really. No one's on him. And Muhammad, left-hander, back of the rim. Still, Kentucky keeps it.
Well, Nazir lost control of the ball there with that left hand, but he had excellent position down inside. Madsen giving up about 3 inches with him. With this Collins on Padgett. Again, the curl by Shepard.
Wing banks it home.
And here's where the loss of Young really hurts Stanford. Collins certainly not the low post threat. Maybe Madsen could pick up the slack here inside.
Mosley, 3. Front of the rim. Kept alive, but into the arms of Padgett. Momentum with Kentucky in the overtime. 3.5 to go.
I think Padgett thinks that he can overpower Collins down in low.
I think Muhammad believes he can do the same on Madsen. Fade away, though. In the first 5 of the overtime to the Wildcats.
Stanford doesn't like to double down, but they're almost going to have to now because Madsen's given up so much size.
Timeout of 20 called by Stanford.
Jim Young on that bench. Tough situation for Mike Montgomery.
Kentucky with 6 national championships, second only to UCLA. 13 Final Fours with this one in '98. Second only to North Carolina and UCLA, 14 apiece. People forget, we talk about the 42 national champs. There were only 8 teams in the tournament then. FDR was the president. And by the way, there were 48 states.
Howie Delmar was the MOP of that particular tournament. And also on that club, the great Jim Pollard, Hall of Famer from Stanford. Madsen wants to clear out inside.
Over the top to Collins. Stuffed once, gets it back and one. Oh, this freshman has great composure.
Yes, he does. And Jim gives Stanford a lot of credit there. What they anticipated was the fact that there was going to be a double by Padgett coming in to help on Madsen. So they threw right over the top of it. Padgett couldn't get back in time. And as you said, give Collins a lot of credit for the putback.
And this is the 4th foul on Muhammad.
Collins, as I said, had the big game with 23 minutes against Purdue, 5 for 9, 12 points, 11 rebounds.
That's his first miss of the game from the line after making his first 4. It would have cut it to 2, so a big miss. Halfway through the overtime. Kentucky by 3, 78-75. Edwards 3 on the baseline.
What happened there, Jim, is that Edwards, instead of coming out on the curl, ran the baseline. Mosley tried to go all the way over the top to chase him. You can see here he comes. He had run all the way across the top. And it gave Edwards an excellent opportunity to score on the baseline.
Alvin Edwards still going through the healing process. He lost his mother, Laura Mae Edwards, 4 weeks ago, dying of breast cancer. Lord in for Muhammad.
And you see what Tubby Smith is doing now, Jim. He's going to go offense, defense the rest of the way. McClure comes in, hopefully, to play as much defense as possible. Now is he available on the offensive end?
It's at a 4-point Kentucky lead.
And Turner really sits down defensively.
Lee with a 3. Madsen tips it and gets it back. Huge shot here. Lee 3. And he's hammered by Turner to the line for 3 attempts where he hasn't missed in the entire tournament.
Give Madsen some credit for determination going after that loose ball. Tubby Smith didn't like it. He thinks his team's quicker. They're supposed to beat people to the ball.
Lee 6 for 6 today from the line.
Madsen with a good kick out. Foul. Turner hits him with a leg.
If that dropped, he could have signed it. Could have been a 4-point play. Still Lee proves his remarkable free throw standard in the tournament to 33 of 33.
And Jimmy, remember when Arthur Lee used the choke sign in a non-sportsmanlike way when Patino Mobley was on that foul line?
Nazi Muhammad back in with his 4 fouls.
He understood and took
a lot of heat for it.
Took a lot of heat.
Rightfully so.
Right, rightfully so, and handling himself in a professional manner. I don't think we'll see that out of him again.
He sent a letter of apology. Apologized here as well. And Lee hits all 3 to bring it back to 1 with 2 minutes to go. Lee has 26.
Padgett, again, posting up down low on Collins, but they're not looking to get him the ball.
And on the shot clock, Shepard comes over, out high. Padgett fakes the 3, now drives. Oh, a dunk. And it's Kentucky ball, they say. It was touched, says Tim Higgins. Tipped by Stanford.
And here is a case where Padgett tried to finish this off with the dunk. I don't agree with that call, Jim. The ball was released, hits the rim, and then I think it was touched. Check me on this one. Boom. See, the ball hit the rim. I don't think it ever touched the Stanford hand. I think that should have been Stanford's ball.
A full timeout called by Kentucky.
Take a look at it. This is a better angle. I don't think a Stanford hand ever touched the ball. I think that this basket should have counted, and I'll tell you why. Here's the ball inside the basket, and the hand is in the cylinder. You can see it right there. Now, it's either 2 points Kentucky, or it is Stanford ball, because the last person to touch it is Padgett without question. But we've looked at it 18 times during the commercial in slow motion. So give the guys in a striped shirt some credit.
Super slow-mo.
Super slow-mo, yeah.
One full timeout for Stanford, 2 full ones for Kentucky, and Kentucky with possession. 1:31 remaining in overtime.
Solid screen. Collins steps out.
Shepard loves this shot. And he delivers.
Is he amazing coming off that curl, whether it be coming off to the right or the left? He squares up perfectly.
82-78. A career high for Shepard, 26 points. Weems comes off a pick, fires back at 3 of his own. Collins with the rebound. Somebody was holding.
Padgett was pulling him down.
So Collins, the freshman, to the line for 2.
And young players that are watching, watch how Shepard comes out. See how he squares up his feet even though he's coming against his body for that jump shot. That's why the shot is square, and that's why he doesn't glide to the right or the left. He turns that lead foot in square to the basket, which brings his whole body then square around, including his shoulders. Terrific curl move shooter.
Minute 3 to go. 2 for Collins. After making his first 4 free throws in this game, he's clanked the last 2.
Still plenty of time, Jim.
3-point game. A minute to go. Stanford came back from 4 down with a minute to play in regulation. And Madsen on the reach-in.
Not a bad foul right here. Remember who's going to the line. Turner. He's had his problems there.
Only problem for the Stanford side, that's the 4th on Madsen. If somehow this game was to go an extra 5 minutes after this one.
So you think you're back at Clemson, Minnesota, huh?
Double overtime in this building. It has been.
I will say something, and not trying to look ahead for either one of these ball clubs, but a game that is as physical as this, that goes into an overtime, takes a lot out of you. For the next finish,
2 for Turner.
Only a 56% free throw shooter his first 2 seasons.
Four-point lead, 53 seconds.
You can take a 2 or a 3 here. You don't have to settle on a 3. You got 2 possession game.
Brian Mendez with a 3. Comes home to Texas and brings his team to within 1. And he put Turner right back on the line. Lee knows it. Turner will go back for 2 attempts.
Very good strategy right there by Mike Montgomery. Now, remember last weekend, Jim, we saw such great coaching performances. Tubby Smith with a great comeback against Duke. Mike Montgomery extending that game against Rhode Island. He's doing the same thing right here. You try to take a minute ball game and turn it into a 5-minute game.
Son John, daughter Annie Montgomery, 2 shots for Turner.
Look good. You never figure a young man who scored 62 in a high school game would have a hard time from the foul line, do you?
No, the kid who hit the 3 at the other end, though, scored 71 once in a high school game, but never a bigger basket than that one by Mendez. Here's the second one. Got them both. Turner with 3 in a row from the line.
But it still is a 1-possession game with a 3-point lead.
McClure inserted for Muhammad.
Again, the defensive pressure of McClure, the shot blocker down inside.
42 seconds.
And still enough time not to have to rely strictly on the 3-point shot.
They seem to like to take the 3 in this situation. Lee got it in regulation. Mendez already hit 1. Can he do it again? Well, long rebound to Madsen, though. Weems is waiting for it. No pass his way. 24 seconds. Weems to tie. Off the glass. Tipped out again to Madsen. Lee rejected. And out to Shepard, he was fouled.
And give Tubby Smith some credit. The substitution of McGlure in for Nazi Muhammad. The defensive shot block. Matson on the floor, but great hustle. There it is. Tubby Smith making all the right moves.
And Madsen fouls out with 9 points, 16 rebounds.
So you have Young and Madsen out. But Jim, looking up at the scoreboard, that shouldn't hurt them at all because they've got to go to the three-point shot now the rest of the way.
Mr. Madsen watches as Sauer comes in. And Shepard to the line for two with 15 seconds to go. Already with a career high 26. Oh, big. To make it a two-possession game. Timeout, Kentucky. A 20. They call a 20. Now it's a full. Tubby said he wanted a 20, but they only have a full. So it's a full extension. Stanford down 4. 15 seconds to go in overtime. With another second half comeback here. 17 down in the second half. The regional final to Duke. Comes back to win it. The Wildcats 10 down in the second half to Stanford today.
A lot of confidence in his team, and you can see that Tubby Smith in his timeout patterns, Jim, loves to call and set his team in place. Now, there's two philosophies there. Some coaches say, hey, when I've got the lead, I don't want to give that other guy a chance to set up. Tubby Smith of the principle, he always wants his club to know exactly what he wants them to do.
Now Stanford, 4 down with 15 seconds, and you got to go full court here. What do you do?
Well, you've got a two-possession game, Jim, so I think that you get satisfied to go and get the two as opposed to taking the wild 3. This is Stanford, a school that in the school year 97 won 6 NCAA team championships, beating their all-time record of 5 in both 95 and 96.
Inbounds to McDonald, freshman.
Take it to the basket.
Sauer plants the feet, 3-point. 1-point game, 9 seconds to go.
Amazing.
The captain, bad wheel and all.
Yeah, he was going at the right speed with that bad knee to be in perfect position to be open. McDonald wasn't sure what he wanted to do with it. And here is the delayed break by Sauer. Perfect release.
It may have been Sauer, but it's down to 1. You got it. Kentucky with 1. Kentucky has checked in Cameron Mills.
And there's a reason for that, Jim, in my opinion. Cameron Mills this year has taken 21 free throws. He's made 20 of them. You know that Stanford has got to go ahead and commit, go for the steal, but don't be afraid to commit that foul to get the ball back in possession to try to win this thing. So if Turner touches it, you can be assured that Stanford's going to foul him. Let's see if they keep Turner in the game. Who did Mills come in for?
Shepard's on the floor. Turner is in there. Edwards also. Padgett.
You can see Mills, 95% free throw shooter. Turner is going to break through the ball. If you're Kentucky, you would think you'd want Cameron Mills breaking for the ball and let him get fouled.
Edwards will inbound. They will not man the inbound pass.
Right, Stanford looking to try to pick up the first cutter through with Sauer.
They made a steal in the Rhode Island game in this situation. They tie up Padgett. The arrow belongs to Kentucky. The arrow belongs to Kentucky. Kentucky ball.
And there is the controversial rule of why does the defense get penalized by the arrow with a great defensive play.
6 seconds to go. Edwards calls the last timeout for Kentucky. Wow. 6 seconds on the clock. Kentucky leads by 1 in overtime. We'll be right back. Outs on either side. That took 3.2 seconds to call that jump ball. And remember, Mike Montgomery must tell his team, if we put him on the line here, we got to set up a play right this minute now. As we break the huddle, he's got to set up the last shot for his team.
And Stanford should be pretty good at arithmetic, Jim. It's a school of higher learning over there. They've got to decide if those free throws are made or missed, how they want to attack. They're down 1. Guy makes 2 free throws. They're down 3. Obviously, they've got to go for a 3-point shot. Otherwise, they can tie it for 2. Or win with 2 if he doesn't make any of them.
Sauer, Mendez, freshman Jaron Collins, Chris Weems, and Arthur Lee on the floor for Stanford. Kentucky counters with Mills, Edwards, Patchett, Turner, and Shepard.
Coming up in the next game, we have North Carolina. They won a national championship in '57 with 2 games which they played triple overtime. Kentucky working on that, or Stanford? And Kentucky looks like they might want to break a guy long on a solid screen here.
This time they man the inbounds pass. Edwards needs help. Goes long, and Turner gets it. They must foul him quickly. They do with 2.5 to go.
Boy, and Lee thought he had picked that off. Turner just beat him. It's like 2 guys going out for a pass in the end zone. A great defender against a good wide receiver. Wide receiver comes up with it.
I'll tell you, had he even picked it off, though, he would have been going in the wrong direction. It would have been hard for him to even get back. Fire a pass, plant yourself.
Good job by Turner to kind of tap that over to himself. Wasted another probably half a second.
All right, Turner's made his last 3 attempts. He'll shoot 2. Wild on the first one.
So they do have a shot, Jim.
And they bring in the shot blocker, McGlure.
Out goes Mills. So they're big now.
2.5 seconds. Near facsimile to the Arizona game, and that really is twofold. The youth performance.